Imagine walking into a city 4,500 years ago, where every street is paved, every house has a private well, and a vast communal bath sits at the heart of town. Imagine merchants sailing cotton and carnelian beads across the Arabian Sea, while the people who built these cities left no royal names, no palaces, and a script that refuses to speak. Imagine that, over centuries, those cities quietly emptied, and the maps erased themselves. What secret was buried beneath that silence? In this video, we will step into the Indus world. We will walk its streets and enter its houses. We will study the graceful craftsmanship of the dancing girl and the solemn gaze of the priest king. We will trace trade routes to Mesopotamia and stand on the edge of Dholavira's reservoirs as monsoon waters are stored. Most of all, we will follow the clues of a civilization that solved urban life in ways the world had never seen, and then slowly faded into mystery. Where the past comes alive. Welcome to FOMO history. The era we explore is the mature Harappan age, roughly 2,600 to 1,900 BCE, though its roots stretch back thousands of years. The city stretched across the Indus plains of what is now Pakistan and northwest India. Picture a map that fans from the mouth of the Indus up to the foothills of the Himalaya. With tributary rivers, coastal ports on the Arabian Sea, and an inland ribbon once fed by the Gagar, a river some believe to be the fabled Sarasvati. The stakes were survival and coordination. Water, food, trade, and social trust were the wires that held this urban world together. When those wires frayed, the cities changed forever. Very early farming villages in places such as Mehrgarh laid the foundation for everything that followed. People who once moved with seasons settled down, planted wheat and barley, and tamed animals. By 5000 BCE, this region had become the earliest center of cotton cultivation in the world. Centuries of steady accumulation, skills, stored harvests, and craft specialization slowly produced towns. And by 3300 BCE, regional networks fed an urban leap. By 2600 BCE, the cities of Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Dholavira, Lothal, and Rakhigarhi rose, each different in scale and focus, but all sharing a striking common logic. The Indus cities seem to have known many leaders and few monarchs. There's no record of palaces proclaiming a single ruler, and no royal tombs lined with treasures and names. Instead, we find evidence of administrators, merchants, artisans, and ritual specialists. The priest-king figurine gives us one memorable face. He sits with a composed expression, wearing a trefoil-patterned robe that seems ceremonial. He suggests ritual status or civic office, rather than absolute monarchy. This absence of overt kingship is one of the civilization's most disorienting traits. It forces us to imagine governance by councils, merchant guilds, or religious institutions, rather than by single sovereigns. On the map, the Indus realm appears as a vast network of more than 1,000 sites. It is not a single empire with neat borders. Instead, it is a dense urban system of city-states, ports, and outposts. The cities look like the result of a city planner's dream. Streets run straight and meet at right angles. Houses use a standardized brick ratio, so consistent that you can see the same proportions across hundreds of sites. The blank exterior walls that face the street are striking. Houses protect their privacy and climate control by turning their windows and doors inward to a shaded courtyard. Inside, a house may have separate rooms for cooking, storage, and sleeping. Many houses had private wells, which kept water literally within reach. The contrast between rich and poor housing is far less dramatic than in contemporary civilizations. Modest single-room dwellings stood near larger multi-room homes. But extreme luxury was rare. This relative equality creates an unusual urban texture. Imagine stepping into a house on a hot morning, shaded by high outer walls. You draw water from a private well and feel the cool relief of an ancient civilization's ingenuity. You step into a courtyard where the family prepares flatbreads and grinds grains. You watch artisans drill beads with jasper tools and potters throw shapes on a wheel. Children play with toy carts and whistles carved from clay. The everyday is as engineered as the city itself. Because private wells, covered drains, and wells at Mohenjo-daro, that number around 700 show planning that attends to ordinary life. The need to store surplus shaped many public structures. Granaries appear in association with the Great Bath and other large complexes. These granaries have ventilation and loading areas, suggesting centralized control over food storage and distribution. Their presence tells us that the cities planned for bad years, and that someone coordinated food resources at a city scale. Dholavira sits in an arid zone where water is a literal lifeline. There, the engineers built 16 reservoirs, dams, and channels to trap monsoon rain and store it across seasons. Stone-lined tanks cut into the bedrock held water until it was needed. The scale and sophistication of this hydraulic engineering show that the Indus people turned environmental constraint into technical advantage. Dholavira is a monument to municipal water management, a blueprint for surviving scarcity. Certain large public buildings serve as residual clues to civic gathering. Assembly halls indicate places where people met for administration, ritual, or trade. They are not palaces. They are civic centers, places built for community decisions, storage, distribution, and perhaps ceremonial life. Mohenjo-daro's Great Bath is a deliberate, sealed pool with steps and drainage. It suggests ritual bathing or public ceremony. It is constructed with precise brickwork and sealed to hold water. A demonstration of technical know-how and a communal sense of purity and ritual. Lothal's dockyard, possibly the world's oldest known. It is a rectangular basin over 200 meters long, with a lock system sophisticated enough to let ships come and go with the tide. The dockyard connects the city to maritime commerce and to distant economies. A small bronze figure, the dancing girl, captures a moment of confident life. She leans forward with one hand on her hip and the other slightly raised. She wears bangles and seems alive. The figure and many other artifacts show refined workmanship. Lost wax casting, bead drilling, and high-temperature kilns. They speak of specialized craftspeople who turned raw materials into beauty. Seals are the Indus fingerprints. Small steatite squares show animals, mythical figures, and short strings of symbols. The seals probably functioned as signatures, trademarks, or administrative tags. The script that accompanies them gives us 400 or so signs and thousands of short inscriptions, yet it refuses to yield a readable language. We can run statistics and make compelling hypotheses, but we cannot read a letter from a merchant or priest. That silence is the deepest mystery. Ritual bathing appears central. The Great Bath and the smaller private baths suggest practices of purification and communal identity. Fire altars show ceremonies involving heating or burning offerings. Figurines of women in poses and with exaggerated features point to fertility symbolism. Together, these elements suggest a spiritual world tied to purity, fecundity, and domestic ritual rather than monumental temple cults. People tree motifs and repeated animal imagery suggest reverence for living things. A seal showing a seated figure amid animals, sometimes called the Pashupati motif, hints at an ideal of coexistence with the natural world. Animals such as the water buffalo, elephant, and a stylized one-horned creature appear again and again. They may represent clans, gods, or economic staples. Weapons found at Indus sites are usually tools that could be used for hunting, craft, or personal protection. They are not huge arsenals of war. Some cities have defensive walls, but the walls often function as flood control and urban organization as much as defense. Wheeled carts were used for transport, and axle widths show standardization. Metallurgy advanced to complex bronze work and lost wax casting. The first known dental surgery appears at Mehrgar, where archaeologists find perfectly round holes drilled into molars, likely made with flint-tipped copper bits. This shows an astonishing practical knowledge of surgery, pain management, and perhaps antiseptic practice, long before other cultures recorded similar skills. Trade made the Indus world outward-facing. Seals from Indus cities appear in Mesopotamia, and Mesopotamian texts call their trading partner Meluha. The Indus exported cotton textiles, carnelian beads, and perhaps timber and ivory. It imported tin, lapis lazuli, and other minerals. Standardized weights and measures ensured fair exchange. Markets were probably regulated by local authorities and merchants. The Harappan system of weights follows binary and decimal progressions with remarkable precision. Architects used consistent linear measures across different cities. Bricks follow the 1 to 2 to 4 proportion. And the standardization suggests a shared knowledge system across a wide territory. Because the script remains unreadable, we lack direct access to myths and laws. We reconstruct beliefs from artifacts. The pattern suggests a focus on household and civic piety, rather than grand cosmic epics. The spiritual life appears woven into daily routines and public hygiene, more than into monumental theology. Mysterious facts and bizarre elements, 3 deep puzzles. First, the undeciphered script. We have thousands of short texts and hundreds of signs, yet no Rosetta Stone. This lack blocks our access to names, laws, and stories. Second, the unicorn or single-horn animal that appears on many seals. Its ubiquity suggests deep cultural importance. But we do not know whether it is a god, a clan emblem, or a merchant's mark. The riddle remains unsolved. Third, the absence of kings and palaces. Most ancient urban civilizations leave grand tombs or palaces that anchor history in names. The Indus world does not. That absence forces us to imagine political organization without royal centers. The decline of the Indus civilization is a matter of facts versus speculation. We can place several facts on the table. After around 1900 BCE, cities shrink or are abandoned. Standardization breaks down, and long-distance trade decreases. Paleoclimate data suggests weakening monsoons and river shifts. Most prominently, the drying of the Ghaggar-Hakra system. Rivers changed course, and water availability decreased. These environmental stresses likely drove many communities to reorganize around new centers and to spread eastward into the Ganges basin. Speculation includes social breakdown under environmental stress and the slow migration of peoples. Invasion theories remain largely unsupported by modern evidence and do not explain the gradual quality of the change. The history of excavation has its own shadow. some mounds were quarried for brick in the 19th century. And early interpretations were colored by colonial assumptions. Modern archaeologists must correct those errors while protecting sites that sit on contested borders, and must argue for careful conservation against neglect and flood damage. Why would a people who engineered wells, reservoirs, and docks leave their cities without destroying them or writing farewell letters? Why did they not fight to hold the standardized systems that had sustained them for centuries? The strongest answer is that environmental change slowly unraveled the economic and water foundations of urban life, and the people chose survival over stasis. Yet the silence of their script and the absence of royal chronicles leave the story open. The Indus civilization reminds us that greatness is not always loud. It can be practical, cooperative, and quietly brilliant. It can design public sewers and private wells, a dockyard and reservoirs, dental surgery, and dancing bronze figures, and still choose to leave without a dramatic ending. Their silence is not defeat, it is an invitation. Their artifacts are questions. What do you think happened to these cities and their people? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating history content.